Neck-throughs, guitars, they're like a guy that you won't have a beer with you.
I want to hear what's pushing the notes.
Freddie King and B.B. King, Albert King, and let's not forget Burger King.
I don't want to blow my knuckle out.
Stainless steel is the work of the devil.
These go to 11.
From the East Amplification Tone Labs in Baltimore, Maryland, it's the Amps and Axes Show. With your hosts, Jeff the Godfather of Low Wattage Amps Bober and Mick Marcelino.
Well, good day to you, Mr. Bober.
Good day to you, Mr. Marcelino.
Hey.
Hey.
How about our fans?
They are awesome. They're
getting
awesomer
through the roof.
They're getting awesomer
all the time. We cannot thank you guys enough for the.
Well, we could, but then there'd be nothing left for the show.
Exactly. Yes. Let me tell you, you guys are doing a great job. It must be getting around the word of mouth, but literally doubled our numbers. Now, I'm guarantee you this month we're going to go right back to where we were. But hey, I'll take it every time.
Oh, of course, of course. And please spread the word.
Yes.
Spread the word. It helps us bring more words to you.
Yeah, and thank you for clicking through our Amazon banner on ampsandaxescast.com.
That's right.
Right there you can find all the social media icons, even including the iTunes icon. And if you have an Android, Stitcher is there also, so that way you can get our show no matter what device you're carrying.
That's right. And even though all the social media is there, you really don't have to be a social person to use it. You can just use any of it in complete. And then
we got the Instagram, we got the Facebook, we got the Twitter.
Right.
That's the only 3 places we live. Actually, we're on Google Plus too. So if you want to follow us there, I'll follow you back.
Well, there you go.
So we got it all covered, baby.
Maybe I should follow me. No, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't want to know what I'm doing.
Well, we were talking. We were just chatting before we started taping.
We do this. We do this.
Yeah, we brainstorm a little bit. We don't want to just go in totally cold.
Right.
Well, we were talking about the Van Halen performance the other day on Jimmy Kimmel
on Mr. Kimmel's show. Yes.
Okay. Well, here's
anybody got a bandaid?
Yeah, exactly. The band sounded incredible. They were playing.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I don't believe Eddie would ever really sink it if he had, unless I just don't believe, unless they were doing Super Bowl halftime, I couldn't imagine him actually agreeing to playing to a track.
No, and there are certain things that certain artists do where there's an embellishment track here or there. I don't even think that was the case here, really.
No, it didn't need to be. It was just Panama.
Right.
Yeah, it's single guitar, bass, drums,
Right.
And then they forgot to bring the vocalist. And
well, he did, but he was damaged.
Yeah, Dave is he's well, here's the thing, and this is something that we were talking about because you said the whole Sammy Hagar thing.
Mm-hmm.
And where
someone posted
it was a meme, right?
Someone posted a picture of Sammy, and the caption was, "Do you miss me now?" Which I thought was pretty.
Now,
cool.
Here's the irony behind that. Sammy was supposed to be the original singer. He was actually one of the 4 front runners to be the original singer of Van Halen.
Way back in the day.
Way back in the day, but he had the Montrose thing,
right?
And then he did his solo thing. They got Dave because it was cheaper to get him in the band than rent the PA system from him every weekend, because remember Eddie was singing and the band was called Mammoth, I think, at that time.
Okay.
So that's a little bit of the history, is that, Sammy was tossed, and so was Billy Sheehan as the bass player. He was tossed around as being the original bass player. And they auditioned him and they said, no way, he is just going to overshadow Ed, and Ed is, Alex wasn't going to let it happen. And they liked the idea that Michael could sing at that register.
Yeah, that really put them a cut above just that extra unique kind of vocal that they had on top.
Yeah.
That was
there was
Mr. Gumby.
That's how ironic it was that, Sammy was, even though he was the second choice, he actually was almost thought as the first choice.
Interesting.
Yeah. I'd read that a long time ago, and I heard it. It was actually backed up by some other behind the music thing or something like that.
Huh. I'd never heard that before.
Dave, I saw Dave when he went solo with Steve Vai, Billy Sheehan, and Matt Bissonette, possibly the most 3 dangerous people on stage at one time. And Dave sung as bad then as he did the other night.
Well, see, that's the whole thing. I saw something else pop up that said, haters are going to hate, but David was never really a good singer. He was just a front man, and this post was kind of comparing Van Halen more to like a punkish kind of thing than a rock band with a great front singer. You know.
I look at it this way. That's minus Wolfie. It's the original act, and I'll give Dave a pass like I give Ozzy a pass. I saw Ozzy Osbourne, and Gus G was the guitar player, and then the drummer and the bass player. Forgive me, I don't know their names. They're just utility guys that fill in, obviously. I know. Well, I think the drummer was part of Rob Zombie hates Sharon Osbourne and Ozzy Osbourne with a passion because they literally stole guys out of his band. And I think the drummer and the bass player were the 2 guys that they took.
Well, you might as well get the whole rhythm section.
Yeah. So, but I saw him with Gus G, and not to go too far off topic, Ozzy can't carry it anymore. But the thing that I respect about that guy, and my buddy Pete was there with me, we were like, dude's got monitors on the stage. He does not like to have in-ears. And it was him. There was nothing helping him whatsoever. And same thing with Dave.
See, that's the one thing. Ozzy could easily use auto-tune.
He does when he's recording. They use some type of device because you can hear it.
And lock that in.
Yep.
And it would still be unmistakably Ozzy.
Yes.
But he chooses not to do that, you know?
And that was all. And, we heard the clams. I mean, they're...
Oh, yeah.
It's Ozzy, so you're like, oh. But... It was like, you know what? It was one of the better shows I've seen because there was nothing being masked. They had the keyboard guy out there from Mr. Crowley and all. That guy's been with him for like, I don't know, 30 plus years or something. He's like the original guy. And, but yeah, I mean, I was like, you know what? Dave was out of key. He was not there, but dude.
Well, at least Ozzy didn't hit himself in the nose with the microphone, Ozzy needs no Band-Aids.
When I saw the beginning of that and Dave was wielding that steel bar like a baton.
Oh, he was like a baton twirler, man.
All I could think of is like, this dude is in his 60s. And that thing's going to come flying out of his hand.
I was looking, thinking, any second now.
It's either going to impale Alex
or somebody in the crowd.
Any
second now, it's going to leave its hand,
and somebody's going to end up.
We don't know which direction it's going to go.
Yeah, exactly.
It's hilarious. So I thought the same thing. So
it brings us to this article that I saw on Guitar World, not Premier Guitar, which we love, but I saw this and it said, "Bent out of shape, has heavy metal become a joke?" Well, the guy goes in here and he says it's lost all of its form of legitimacy because, and like we both agree, the metal of today is not the metal that we grew up with.
It's not, and things do
evolve,
slightly morph and evolve over time, but. If somebody were to play me something today and, tell me this is the newest metal track,
you would not be able to recognize it.
If they just played it without describing what genre it was, I doubt that most of the stuff today I would put in the category of metal. I wouldn't know where to put it.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't put it in the category of metal.
And that's what this guy explains. And he says in there, he goes, here's the difference. Jazz is still jazz. Blues, still blues.
Still blues.
Country, pretty much still country. Well, new country, a little rockish, but it's still got the twang.
Well, and the same thing with blues. There's more and more. Well, not all over the place. Traditional blues is traditional blues, but there's a rock influence in blues, and vice versa. I mean, that's where a lot of rock came from.
Sure,
blues.
Absolutely.
So, and there's some rock influence,
but it's still very distinctual where you can you hear it and you go, that's definitely a blues track, or that's definitely a country guy. But with metal, you go, well, sounds like Satan's coming out of the radio. Mm-hmm. You know, back in the day, I mean, we've talked about this, the Bruce Dickinsons and the Rob Halfords and the Queensryche guy. Oh, God, what's his name? Why am I drawing a blank? Queensryche. Anyway.
Silent lucidity.
And I've lost it completely. But that's okay. But they were one of the, you know, they were around, they were heavy metal bands.
Right.
You know, heavy metal bands. And that's what they sounded like. It was like it's kind of like a formula. You know? But it was the thing that made them distinctive. When you heard it, you went, metal.
Metal, right.
And then you had Ozzy, and, you know.
I mean, but before that, I said, like, Zeppelin might have been the
then
original.
I said, well, Black Sabbath probably would have been.
Right.
So, but I do agree with this guy. Now it's all, you know, you got 7 strings, 8 strings, 9 strings. Mm-hmm. They're tuning down so low that it's literally like, why do you have a bass player?
Right.
You know, because, I mean, they are getting 2 bass strings now on the guitar.
Pretty soon, somebody's going to have a sub-octave player. I don't know what the instrument's going to be, but it's just going to be a sub-octave player. Well, you don't really hear him; you just feel him. Yeah, right.
So I agree with this because it's and probably it would be the Panteras that changed that because of all the screaming that took place at that time.
Okay,
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's when it really started, and all the death metal guys because they just growl.
Right.
And the Cookie Monsters.
Right. The scream of.
Yeah. I don't know how anybody does that. Anyway, but yeah, so it's interesting, and you know, has it become a joke? Well,
I don't think it has to the people that play it or the people that enjoy it,
no.
and it's music, so it really shouldn't be. I mean, it's actual people making actual music, so it really shouldn't be considered a joke.
No,
and we could go into people that call themselves musicians and can't play a lick and take from everybody else and manipulate that stuff and know you're not a musician, but we're not going to go there, although I just did. But I mean, it's real. It's music being made by real people on real instruments, so I don't consider it a joke. But I mean, you know, we have micro-categorized everything else in music. Why is this still under the huge folder of metal?
Yeah.
Can't you come up with a different name for it? You came up with different names for stuff that didn't really even need different names. You know, this could probably use a name. You know, let's work on that.
Well, you know, it's funny. It's like,
get it out of the metal category. Let's work on that.
Yeah, like Korn. Remember, they were the first guys really to take the 7-string and do something with it. Mm-hmm. You know, and make a band. And then you had Limp Bizkit, which was not metal, but boy, it got classified as that because you had a rapper out front and just weirdness going on behind it. And it just started.
How does that fall into metal?
I don't know. Well, they burned a lot of stuff at that Woodstock. I mean, they were the ones that said break stuff.
Rap rock? I don't know.
Yeah,
you know.
Well, then you got the Chili Peppers. And that's pretty much that. So I don't know. I thought I'd throw it out there. You know, it's everybody will argue. And not to go off topic too far, but I saw another video today for the whole tone thing and how wood doesn't affect it. And I went, what the hell? I mean, where are we going?
That's just stupid.
At some point, just here's how I want to put it. And I want everybody that's listening to us, maybe we can use this analogy. Years ago, and I'm talking like in the 50s, they said, man will never go faster than 250 miles an hour in the sky. Now, I'm using a round number here, and it's way off, okay? Mm-hmm. And then they built, you know, the P-51 Mustangs, and they're doing 450 miles an hour. And they went, okay, but if you go to 600 miles an hour, the plane will disintegrate,
just fall apart,
and you'll fall apart. And then Chuck Yeager took it past the speed of sound, and they said, okay, if you go to 1,000 miles an hour. And then eventually they just said, and they did the same thing in hot rodding with drag racing. He told, if you go 200 miles an hour, car will come apart, you'll die. Mm-hmm. Then Don Garlitz went 250, and they just
a car at that point as they knew it, you know. But then technology kicks in.
Well, they didn't even know what the physics were going to do, right?
Right.
So at some point, they just said, "Fine, you know, we're not going to talk about this anymore." I think we need to do that with this. You know what I mean? With the whole, this wood doesn't do anything. This does something. Oh, it's the strings. Oh, it's this. It's that. You know what? Just how about this? How about instead of trying to make, I don't know, bread in a beaker, trying to figure this out. How about you practice and maybe make some music that we all want to hear?
Right, and pick up an instrument that you love to hear. You'll like the sound that it makes. And I don't care what it is.
Yeah.
I don't care what it is. Just play something.
This guy actually, this one dude actually cut his countertop up to make it look like a Strat, then took apart a Strat and put it together with a countertop guitar and put it into a wave. He went to painstaking measures to try to prove some point, and at minute 3, I was gone. I was like, "Who cares?" and moving on.
Wow, that's very interesting. And I'm sure plugged in it makes less difference. But we all know how the physics of everything reacts. This is coupled to this, and this is coupled to this, and this is coupled to this. And if this doesn't transfer the sound the same as something else transfers the sound, then you're going to have some difference somewhere. I mean, it's just a matter of physics, But, plugged in, it makes less difference. And depending on what you're plugged into, it's going to make less difference yet.
I believe that firmly, and I guess there's some guys that get very upset by that. And they want to, there's a lot of science going on and everything. And I'm like, Jim Marshall and Leo Fender and definitely Les Paul are probably like, what is going on? I mean, they didn't care. They just wanted to make music, and make instruments.
Well, they didn't care, but at the same time, they made something. They made the first of things.
They got the formula right.
That made a certain sound.
Sure.
And when they made something different, it made a slightly different sound.
Yeah, I mean, if you really think about it,
Strat
right?
doesn't sound like a Telly.
No. And if you really think about it, back in the day, you had some options. There was options. Vox and, different companies like that were making different instruments, right? I mean, there were some different instruments. But now, what happened? There was a certain set of those companies that continued on. Well, the reason is because everybody gravitated to what they sounded like.
Right.
It wasn't, I mean, why else would they still be on this, doing this? I mean, it wasn't like that they, that they cornered the market and that no music store would carry anything else. There was plenty of instruments out there. Gretsch made guitars. I mean, we could go down the list. There's a bunch of stuff out there. And
some sound different than others, and some are chosen because they feel different than others, or they lend themselves more towards a specific genre and style of playing. There's plenty of things out there, but every one of them, they just sound different, and I think it's every aspect of the guitar. Mm-hmm. It's every piece of wood on every place on the guitar, whether it's the neck, the fretboard, the body, and it's of course it's pickups and everything else, and it's weight and all this, and the resonance of the wood. Everything makes a difference. So I don't care how you can try to scientifically disprove it.
Yeah.
As a guitar player, we I guess we know what we hear, or we think we know what we think we hear.
Yeah.
And for us, that makes a difference. So who cares?
Exactly.
Who cares?
And like Mr. Farley said, go in, and if it's the guitar that's talking to you,
right.
Then play that guitar.
Right. And don't care what it's made out of.
No.
And don't care if it was made out of something different, it would sound different, because that's not the guitar in your hand right this minute that's calling you when you want to play. So just, shut up and play your guitar.
Exactly.
And speaking of that,
I love
we have somebody that is definitely not going to shut up, I hope, but definitely plays a mean guitar,
Yes, she does.
Yeah. And
second girl.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
It's our second episode of Girl Power.
Yes.
So yeah, and you may or may not have heard of this person, but the first time I saw her, I said she was the real deal, man. Not only is she a really good player, she's a really good vocalist. There are a lot of blues women out there. I personally think she's one of the best, both vocally and her musical style.
Absolutely.
I really do think she's a
lot of emotion. Shows it too.
She's the real deal, and has a very good command of the six strings. Yeah, six-string instrument. So we're going to bring you somebody that you may or may not have heard of, but after today, you will have heard of her. So we will be back in a minute with Ms Samantha Fish.
Hey, this is Doug Rappaport here from the Edgar Winter Band, and you're listening to Amps and Axes.
And we're back, and as promised, we have on the line with us Ms Samantha Fish. Samantha, how are you?
Doing good. How are you guys doing?
Doing very well.
Much better now.
We're doing really good now. Yeah, we're doing really good now. Little
technical
difficulties, but they're all worked out, and now it's up and running. Steam. It's good. So
right on.
I like this show. It keeps me busy.
That's right. It's Mr. Technology over there. Thank God. Otherwise, without him, we wouldn't have a show. So
right. Well, it's always good to have one of those, around. So it's easier now to communicate. Easier now than ever to communicate, but for some reason I'm like allergic to my laptop. I can't do new stuff. So, but we're getting it out. We worked it out.
Totally. It's easy now as long as you know what you're doing. So, thanks for taking the time. Hoping we're going to introduce our audience to, at least some of our audience, to someone they are not yet familiar with, and we'll get you some more fans, because Lord knows I think you need them. Deserve them. Because first time I saw you play, I mean, not only play but vocally, you just struck me as the real deal. So we're gonna talk about some gear and stuff like that, but we're also gonna go back to the beginning and find out where Samantha Fish came from. Where were you brought up, and what brought you to the six string? So give us a little history.
Well, I grew up in Kansas City, and I started playing drums first when I was 13. I did that for a couple years, and then I was just kind of drawn to the guitar. My dad played guitar, my sister played, his friends all played, and I just it was this like social thing that they would all do together, just kind of like country singer-songwriter, bluegrass stuff, and I just wanted to play. Cool. So I started strumming chords and singing at the same time, and I think having that rhythm background really, really helped me a lot. And then I started going into lead guitar about 18 or 19. I just fell in love with Stevie Ray Vaughan and Angus Young and Slash, and I wanted to be a shredder. And and so then I just kind of started going out to shows, and I saw contemporary musicians, people who are out doing it now. And watching music live really changed me, because I just started finding inspiration everywhere, and I was drawn to the blues, and in particular kind of the North Mississippi, sort of that raw, dirty kind of sound. I was really, really drawn to that.
Yeah, you mentioned early on your parents. I mean, I was going to ask you if you were from a musical household, because a lot of our guests, it turns out that they were from a musical household. But you mentioned like bluegrass and country. Were they professional players, or was it just for fun, or did they make their living as musicians, or how did that come about?
No, they were more hobbyists than anything. Like my dad, they played with friends. I mean, it was a lot of just like songwriter stuff, and his friends, like he had a friend who is actually a professional musician. They used to play up in New York all the time, so some of them were actually in bands and everything, but at that time they weren't. It was just kind of a fun thing. My mom sang in church, so there was always some kind of music going on around. Nobody did it professionally, but we grew up.
Your mom had the vocal chops too.
Oh, she did, yeah. Oh, yeah. She was the loudest one in church. Like every Sunday, I was like, God, you just get embarrassed about everything when you're a kid, even good stuff. Oh, that was always, you have to sing so good and loud. Everybody knows you're good.
Mom, stop being so good.
I don't know why that would embarrass me, but as a kid, I was like, ah. Yeah, no, she was awesome. She still is, and my dad played guitar, so yeah, I guess I got the guitar from him and the singing from her.
That's pretty cool. And then you just gravitated to the blues. Now, you were mentioning like Stevie Ray and everything. Was hearing him the catalyst for getting into the blues, or were you into the blues first and then heard Stevie do it, or how did that come about?
I'd say Stevie was a catalyst, and I think a lot of people, they feel that way because I grew up on rock and roll. I mean, we were listening to the Rolling Stones and Tom Petty, and like I was saying, Guns N' Roses and AC/DC, and you'd listen to classic rock stations, and they'd play Stevie Ray Vaughan, and it never really struck me until I got a video of him playing, and I was just, for some reason, I was like, man, I mean, I did 3 people on the stage, and he just was playing with so much passion, and Stevie Ray, it just struck me in a way. I was like, I have to do this. And then I kind of got into the blues just because, where I grew up, Kansas City's got a really good blues scene. There's a lot of jams, and it was sort of a means to fit in with what was going on so that I could play with other people. And then I found what I loved within it, and the kind of blues that I liked and the stuff that I really was drawn to. And yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say we play 100%. We're not a traditional band or anything, but there's a lot of different influences, but we're definitely rooted in we've got a bluesy sound.
Oh, for sure. I mean, yeah. I would categorize it as a blues band more than anything else. We just started the show talking about music categories and things like that, but exactly. I would definitely call it more blues than anything else. But sure. Yeah, I mean, she'll let a version of War Pigs rip every now and then. It's like it's bizarre and it's very cool.
It ties in well to what we're doing, and I try to design the sets now so it's not like just out of left field. Like, oh, and here's War Pigs. We kind of. We'll take the set now. It's like we started out, burning, and then we'll go into like a, like kind of a country acoustic set, like session, and then we go to the hill country, and then we just rock out at the end. I try to find a way there, but it's hard sometimes. I'll tell you, it's hard to mix War Pigs and Halen Wolf.
Well, it's what's her name? Shannon Curfman?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I've seen her. And she's a really good player and all, but she had a backup guy. She had a guy that was playing telly, and he was doing some backup vocals, but he was handling a majority of the heavy work,
of the guitar work.
Yeah. So to see Samantha, you're like, holy crap! Yeah. I mean, she's it.
There's 3 people on stage.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
And you can see that you guys are feeding off each other pretty good, because her and the bass player, it's a lot of, they're playing towards each other and all, but you can see that that groove is happening there.
Right.
But I'm telling you what, man, it's pretty neat to see that, because there's a lot of women that do this same type of thing, but it's usually there's a utility guy or there's somebody that's covering the footwork in the back.
Right.
There's
1 or 2 more people on stage, just embellishing the whole sound.
Exactly. Yeah, and you covered most of it.
Where I came from with that, it was 2 things. First of all, I was really hard headed when I started playing. I was like, no, I want to do it all. I was like, I want to be able to hold this whole thing down. And I had a lot of people like, you should flesh it out. And I was just really stubborn. And then the second part of it was like, I really couldn't afford another player at the time. So I was like, well, we better get good at something.
Yeah, I mean, economics does play a part in it for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was more a necessity at the time than than anything.
But and no disrespect here, but did you really want to do it more just because you were female? Did you really want to just push it that extra degree of proof? It's like, I can do this even though I'm a woman.
Well, and I never qualified it with because I'm a woman. It was more or less just because I want to. And I never started playing guitar. When I saw Stevie Ray Vaughan playing, it wasn't like, well, because I'm a woman and I think this would be a good marketing move. It was more or less like, God, that's badass, and I want to do that. And then, you have people, I think that everybody's kind of there's a little bit of a stigma. They're like, maybe they don't say it outright, like, hey, you're a girl, maybe you should have a backup guitar player who's actually really good. But there's that slight stigma there. And I just was hard-headed, and I was like, screw you guys, I'm going to do this myself, and you'll see. One of these days, maybe not today or 5 years from now, but someday maybe I'll.
And that's perfect, because cutting your teeth like that, you're either going to sink or swim.
Oh, absolutely.
And yeah.
It really, I think it's one of the things. What I notice about you is you have a really good command of the instrument, and the dynamics thereof. And I really think that you're the only person on stage that's playing a guitar. So when you got to have a lot of guitar. There's a lot of guitar because you know how to play it powerfully, but also you're the one that controls the dynamic when you want to step it back to really say something vocally.
Oh, yeah.
You know, and you have complete control over that too. So, I mean, you know, yeah, it's tough, but it also gives you like ultimate freedom in what you want to hear guitar wise. Yeah,
and what's cool is that there's this video, and I forget the name of the song, but you're doing this thing where you're actually you're like hybrid picking a little bit. You're using the pick and your fingers.
Yeah.
And when you watch it, I was like drawn to her right hand because I wanted to see what she was doing. You hold that in a very different way than I see like these country guys do. And she was, I was like, how in the world is she hitting the correct strings?
But yet
it's all jacked up, man. I can't even tell. It's not correct.
But yeah, I mean, there is no, correct in quotes.
Exactly.
It's what works for you.
Technical, standards. It's probably not correct, but it was, like I said, out of necessity, you kind of create these, I don't know, habits.
Well, I tell you what, that was the coolest thing because I was like, her hand was off of the strings a very good bit. And I was like, how in the world is she hitting? Because she was hitting the right strings. See, that was
obviously.
That was the thing. It was driving me a little crazy because I'm like, how in the world is she doing that? Her hand's 3 inches away from the strings and she's still hitting them dead on. And I'm like, she's not looking.
That's so funny.
So I was like, it was, but obviously it was just mechanics. It's just repetition, man.
Oh yeah, you can do anything if you just repeat it enough times, right?
Right, right or wrong, or correct or not correct, or whatever you want to call it. But
exactly.
once you get used to finding something that works for you, and you just do it over and over again, and then it becomes your style.
Yeah,
it becomes your style.
I don't know why I always do that, but I always look at that. Like I look at Yngwie Malmsteen. You look at his right hand, and you go, this has got to be a recording because his hand doesn't look like it's even moving. It's very slight.
Yeah, but there's so many hammer-ons with that too.
Exactly. Yes.
He's not like hybrid picking every note. He hits one out of every 4 notes.
Yeah. But you know what I mean, though. It's like one of those things. And like Marty Friedman from Megadeth, when he was in Megadeth, he has that weird way he holds his hand. I'm like, how does anybody even pick that way?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I like that kind of stuff because it defies the rules.
Right.
Well, yeah.
It defies the rules.
It's a signature style,
Yeah,
right. I was
exactly.
going to say it defies the rules, but it defines the player.
Yes, it does.
So that's cool. Well, good on you for getting your right hand noticed.
I'm just laughing because I've had so many other guitar players like, "What are you doing?" It's like I don't know. It's just it's my job to try and get to a point where I'm not hurting myself. I feel like. You don't want to do something incorrect and develop tendonitis because that serves nobody. But if it's comfortable and it feels right, I don't think there's one solid way to do it. I know they'll say there is, but I think when you're making music and art, that's not 100% true.
Yeah, they're called classical players.
Yeah, that's right.
Right. Yeah, points off if you don't pick it the right way
or hold it the right way.
I don't know anything about that, so.
But you do what you want to do, and you hear what you want to hear, and that's good. And you have a really good command of that instrument.
Yeah, man.
Thanks, guys. I appreciate that.
And it's got a fish on it.
Yeah, well, we're going to get to that.
Okay.
We're going to get to that. Yeah, but I mean, was this your first? Like, I can't imagine that the trio that you have now was your first real band. Was it? Did it start in garage with a bunch of friends and?
No, actually, I think I put the band together when I was like 19 or 20. And I'd been to so many jams. Like I said, I started out going out every night. I had two different jobs and I worked during the day, like 1 or 2 shifts. And then I go out at night and try to, meet people and play whatever was going on around town. And I really kind of got connected with my original band through those jams. And I, just said, hey, you want a job? And they're like, all right, the lineup has changed a little bit over the years. I've got a drummer with me now who Go-Go Ray's been with me almost 3.5 years. And, I'm currently in the middle of a lineup change with my bass player, but I've had really good luck with bass players over the years, just great, solid players who add a lot to the music. But, that's a little bit of a struggle when you're dealing with the trio is that, it's so essential to get really, the rhythm section's got to be super tight. So it's hard to find the right people.
Sure.
Yeah.
I remember,
it's hard in a big band, but it's very noticeable in a trio.
Oh yeah.
For sure.
I remember Robert Cray for a couple albums. did not have a very good rhythm section, and he played live, and it was,
oh yeah,
and I was like, this is Robert Cray, you know.
Yeah, you figured he could have some of the best behind him,
and now he does. But yeah.
Well, you know, if you've been in the business long enough, you have some really great people behind you. I mean, you know, I remember seeing Joe B back in the day, you know, when he had his original band behind him. And I thought they were wonderful. You know, it was a really great trio, you know. And then he got to the point where he went, I got to go professional with my rhythm section, you know. And he just jettisoned those guys, which I felt bad. I realized where he was in his career. I felt bad that he had to do that. But he had to, and it really jumped him up to the next level. I think at that point, I think that might have been around the same time that his playing started to noticeably change as well.
Yeah.
So I don't know what influenced what, you know, but maybe if the rhythm section had anything to do with like pushing him a little more, you know, unconsciously. Or the whole thing just took a couple steps up on the ladder.
Or it's because he's got a 18-foot face on the side of his bus.
You know, I can't say with real, you know, lineup changes and everything, because a lot of people, you know, there's a lot of assumptions as to what goes on, and I always just say, hey man, you know, it's a lot more than just playing music together. There could be any number of reasons why, you know, things don't work out long term, and it doesn't even have to be a volatile one, or, you know, like somebody got screwed over. Sometimes it's personality, sometimes it's circumstance, situation. But, you know, I know that when I play with different people, I definitely change the way that I play. I mean, you have to, because everybody's got their own, you know, their own style that they put out there, and it creates a different chemistry every time. So, you know, anytime we have somebody sub in or fill in, or if we do, you know, I play shows with different people, you know, I have to sit back and kind of listen to what they're doing and change how I play to match what's going on. And it's always me, because it's always going to be me, but you just have to think about it a little more, which is good for you.
Oh, no, absolutely, for sure. And it's like, you know, I was watching Planes, Trains and Eric, you know, the Clapton thing.
Yes.
And he hires in different players, different rhythm sections. You know, the band that's on that CD is freaking awesome, you know. But he hires in different rhythm sections, and he'll even say, you know, depending on the rhythm section, he plays differently.
Yeah.
You know, and this is Clapton, you know.
Yeah.
How do you play differently when you're Clapton? But he feels that he plays differently, you know, and everybody on that stage makes a collective difference, you know.
Sure.
And it's like she said, when it's a three-piece, it's really important, you know.
Yeah, one little slight change is going to be noticed.
Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah.
Especially by the star of the you know, of the trio.
Yeah.
You know.
You know, when you're up on there on stage, you notice it more than probably anybody else does. But, you know, it's just finding the right person who's got the right chemistry. You know, they know what you're going for, and, you know, they're out there. It just sometimes, it's like I said, it's circumstance, situation. Not everybody's available at the same time, but it's good for me. I kind of, you know, I notice if I'm playing the same way too long, you know, you fall into little ruts and you don't grow, and you're like, why aren't I growing? It's probably, you know, something like that, you know, just if, you know, you've got a different bass player for the weekend or something that changes a lot, and you're like, wow, I learned something new. That's kind of cool.
Yeah. It's
fresh for sure.
Absolutely, for sure. And like you're saying, different people and different availability. Do you use the same guys let's go studio for a little bit. Do you use the same guys in the studio? And what was your like first recording experience like? And when was that? When did you first put something out?
Well, so far I haven't used my road band with me in the studio, and it's, you know, I've wanted to, but it just was kind of a situation that didn't work out, or, you know, it wasn't the right time. But, you know, my first recording experience, I was on a collaborative project called Girls with Guitars through a record label called Roof Records in Germany. And it sounds kind of goofy, but it was actually a really cool tour. You know, it was 3 chicks fronting a band, you know, with guitars. And it wasn't like, it wasn't over the top or anything, but we all came from different musical backgrounds, and it was pretty cool. But we went to Germany, and it was a relatively small project, you know. I mean, it was we had one girl, Cassie Taylor, played bass. Myself and Danny Wilde played guitars. We had a drummer out of England named Jamie Little, and our producer, Mike Zito. And that was it. That was the whole record.
Wow. So Mike was involved in that too. Mike's been on the show.
I love Mike.
Yeah.
He actually, you know, he's been like a really good friend and musical mentor. And, you know, we've done a lot of shows together. He was one of the first people I met coming up in Kansas City. He would come through with his band, and I met him at Knuckleheads, and he'd let me play with him. And, he introduced me to all the people that he worked with, and yeah, he's been phenomenal. And so it was only fitting that he produced, that record, and then he produced my last 2 studio solo albums, Runaway and Black One Halen. Then I just changed up producers for this last record I did a couple months ago. But yeah, I mean, studio experience has always been a learning and growing experience, and I really do enjoy it.
Now, did you do the Girls with the Guitars? You said that was a recording as well. You did a recording of that?
Yeah, that was my first studio experience. I'd never been in a studio to record, and we went all the way over to Berlin to do it.
I was going to say, did you do that in Germany? Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, it was wild. It was I remember the road. It was Frank Zappa Strasse, which is Frank Zappa Street. The studio's on, and it was kind of like a bunch of college kids. It was this old rented out. There was this big building on the east side of Berlin, and it had all these rehearsal spaces all throughout, and then the studio on the first floor. And it was like these college kids running it. They'd done a lot of it was like dance music stuff, and I think we were the first blues record to go in there. We're like, all right, make some cool music. I mean, it was really fun. It was such a funky, cool experience. I mean, we recorded our music video back there too, that Bitch video, the Rolling Stones cover we did there in Germany. And yeah, it was just a lot of fun, great experiences, learned a lot.
When was this?
Oh man, this was back in like 2010, and then I've made 3 solo studio albums of my own since then.
Now, when you were in Germany recording, was we always like to figure out if the players are playing real gear or fractals and Kempers and plugins. Were you moving some air? Or?
Yeah, we always play real, through real amplifiers, real drum kits. I mean, it's just that's how every record I've done has been done.
Awesome.
Yeah, which I think is the way to go. I don't know. It sounds like this last record we did. It kind of. Luther Dickinson produced it, and Brady Blade played drums, and Luther also played bass, and it's coming out this summer. But I mean, I literally just plugged right into the amp. I don't think we used pedals, but maybe once we just plugged directly into the amp, mic'd it up, and went for it.
I like that.
But yeah, it doesn't get any more direct than that.
Not at all.
Guitar, amp, microphone.
Yeah.
It kind of made me realize, I'm like, oh my God, I don't need pedals. This amp sounds amazing on its own. And it kind of has gotten me into this place now where I'm trying to use the pedals less and less on stage and just do more of the talking with my hands, as opposed to worrying about, sustain with my feet, try and get it out of my fingers. Cause I'm like, that amp can do it. Now I know. I know.
That's very cool. And same amp live as in the studio. I mean, some guys use completely different rigs from one to the other.
Yeah, it's the same rig I use live. It's my Cat 5. We did use, I think, for 1 or 2 songs, we ended up using a Marshall just to get a little bit of a different flavor, tone, texture, which is, it's a monster. But it was basically my Category 5 custom-made amp, and it sounded good.
Very cool. All right, so let's go amps for a little bit. You said I see you're a Cat 5 player.
Yeah.
Yes.
Had you worked with the guys for a while, and is a specific model that was made just for you, or a model they make and tweaked it to Fish specs?
I'm so excited about my setup right now because I've gotten some cool gear from Dawn, and it's a great company. And my first amp that I got was a Category 5 Andrew. I think I want to say it's like 50, 60 watt, but it's got a 10 and a 12-inch speaker in it. It's all tube. I don't know. I can't remember the exact reason why we went 10 and a 12-inch, but I was like, I think I just couldn't make up my mind on what I wanted, so I sat there on both in. But I got an extension cab that sits on top of that. I got a 90-watt head that I can plug into both of those and make it like a super stack. And then I also got this 90-watt Camille cabinet that's pretty awesome too. That's brand new. I'm still trying to figure it out, but I know I'm getting excited because I've got all these different wattages to work with now. I can kind of switch it up as to to which venue I'm playing at. Whereas before it was like I was either sawing their heads off completely or not loud enough for the room.
Wow.
But yeah, I love those amps.
So you said 90-watt cab. Is it a cabinet with like a built-in power amp?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
Wow. Okay, cool. Yeah, I thought I was the only guy doing 10s and 12s. I guess he's doing it too. So, because I have a couple cabinets with 10s and 12s.
that's just because yours truly couldn't make up her mind. That's that's where we got that.
It's actually a very good combination. I really do like it.
It is. You get that big fat bottom from the 12, and then you get the cool compressed, like a little more rockin' tone from the 10s. I mean, I started playing a Fender Super, like the 410.
I knew it.
And that's kind of where I started. And it's funny, the guy from Moreland and Arbuckle who lives in Wichita sold it to me for it was super cheap, but the reverb knob was broken off. So for like a year, I couldn't afford to get it fixed, and the reverb was turned up to 10 on the so I'm kind of psycho about my reverb now. I barely use any because I think I have post-traumatic stress disorder.
Suffering reverb stress.
I would have ripped the tank out of that thing.
I used to haul that thing into jams. I'm like, well, God, it's horrible. Maybe it wasn't a whole year, but it felt like a year. But I still love those 10-inch speakers, but I'm kind of getting into twins and feeling those out. I used to hate them, but now I'm starting to kind of understand how to play through them. So, I just love Cat 5 because it's he soups them up exactly the way I want him to, and
you're becoming a player that knows how to work the amplifier. Yes. Guys who don't know how to do that are just scared to death of twins because it's just too loud and people hear me too good, and what if I make a mistake and I can't get it to sound really good unless it's too loud, and you obviously do not have that situation anymore, which is awesome.
Man, I used to have that problem bad. I was so terrified of twins because to me it was I couldn't get the tone out of them unless it was really loud. And then it was kind of, it was a little bit brittle, and to me, I felt like it was an ice pick, and right into my cavity.
So was your first amp a super reverb?
Oh no, my first amp was this KB300 that didn't work, and I know that's not an amp for me, but that's what we had in our basement, and I used to try that thing around. It was It was disgusting.
Well, what is
KB300? Is that a PV?
Yeah,
keyboard amp, right?
It was 1,000 pounds and sounded terrible.
Yeah, it's a keyboard amp. It's a 300-watt keyboard amp. It's basically like a portable PA.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was a stupid kid, and I used to I was like, hey, it's got a speaker in it, and I could plug right in, and it sounded just like garbage.
What were you playing through? What was the guitar?
It was just a black Telecaster. It was like a Squire. I mean, this was when I was really, really young, and I just was grabbing gear that was in our basement.
Well, sure, we've all done it. This is the fun part, you know.
This is where it all starts,
right?
And then I lucked into that amp through Aaron, and he gave me such a good deal on it, and I'm like, God, I hope he doesn't come looking for me at some point, because it's a good amp.
The Super,
and then I got into the Fenders, and the Fender thing grew on me, and I started figuring my way around that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's we've all started with stuff that really probably we shouldn't have been playing through, or didn't really have much potential to sound good at all.
My first amp was a Stage. Do you remember Stage amps?
I do remember Stage.
Ooh.
They were all transistor.
Yeah.
And you could get them in with a 10, a 12. Their bass amps were like 15. Horrible.
Mm-hmm.
Horrible sounding, just the most god-awful sounding thing.
Of course.
And, I remember my dad bought me a 63 Vibrolux Reverb with two 10s.
Ooh.
And I thought I had hit the lottery.
For sure.
Until I had to play with a band, because you couldn't hear me again.
Well, Mick, if you can't hear a super reverb, a Vibrolux reverb, then your band is just too damn loud. Because you got two speakers in there, son. It must be loud enough.
I was like, this thing is barely audible when the drummer starts pounding on the drums. I was like, what's going on?
Yeah.
It's a different kind of amp, but yeah, that's cool. So super. So yeah, I mean, I'm a big fan of a super. Probably, and I don't play this much. Well, of course, I only play East amps now, but I don't play supers anymore, and I don't play my tellies a lot of times. But I keep coming back to Desert Island Rig is a telly and a super reverb. It really just is. If it has to be something that's commercially available and I just get to grab this, it's a telly and a super reverb. That's the shit.
It is, absolutely, man. I mean, And I just think for someone, when there's, for me, I was just starting out and just having that 10-inch speaker, if I'd gone to 12s right away, I just would have been way in over my head, not sure how to get any good tone out of it. It just is a great amp, breaks up, sounds great, it's real loud, kicks ass, good, it's good stuff.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, let's we covered the Cat 5s a little bit. Let's go to those guitars.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, let's go to the guitars, because that's there's one with it's I guess it's not an F hole, it's a fish hole, right?
Yeah.
So
everybody that wants to know, they're like, where can I get a sticker like that to put on my guitar? I was like, it's not a sticker, it's a hole, silly. And they're like, what? No way. Why would you cut a hole in your guitar? No, I love setting hollows. I really do. I actually I think, I'm going to say Tab Benoit inspired that, because I saw him play, and, I was playing tellies at the time, and, I just kind of, it was so twangy, like the way the, regular tellies are set up, they can, for me, like I said, I had no tone in my hands, so I was like, it's so twangy, and I can't make it sound right. And then I saw Tab, and, he's got those big humbucker style, the thin line telly stuff, and it just kind of darkened it up, and, I don't know, just evened out the tone to me, and I wanted to try that. I fell in love with G&Ls first. I really wanted a G&L ASAT Classic semi-hollow blues boy.
There you go.
That's what I really wanted. And then Delaney approached me, and I was like, build me something like that. And we designed something really different, but we kind of went off specs of other guitars that I liked and played. But those Delaney guitars, they're built exactly to what I wanted and needed. The neck profile is perfect. And, I love it. We've modified it a little bit, tried different pickups here and there. We shaved the neck down on one of them, and, but now it's a signature model, and they're selling them on their website, and I'm,
Wow.
Nice.
Yeah.
With the fish?
With the fish, yeah, the fish.
That's pretty cool.
It wouldn't be a signature model if it didn't have that,
Now, here's the thing. I'm not, I may be wrong, and I'm sure Jason will let us know.
Okay.
But I think our Quick Lick guy, Jason Seditas, plays Delaney guitars. I think, because it has that funky headstock where it has that little curly cue.
I'm pretty sure they're Grosh.
Oh, okay.
I think.
Well, see, I couldn't be wrong about everything.
They're Don Grosh. I think they're Don Grosh.
I'll just stick to the computer.
Oh no! They're who used to work for Grosh and now makes his own guitars. Give me a second. I will remember this. Mike, and it'll come to me in a minute. But yeah, he probably used to play Grosh's, because I have one as well, and we had the same guitar for a while. And
I thought because I see,
this is going to kill me now. I can't remember Mike's last name.
We see his video all the time, and those headstocks are very similar to the Delaney.
Mike Tuttle. Tuttle. They're Tuttle guitars.
Go. Okay.
Yes. Sorry, Mike. Took me a minute. Brain fart.
But they don't have the fish on them, so
no, they don't.
There you go.
No.
There's the difference.
And I'm not sure what a Tuttle looks like, so you can't put a Tuttle on one. But but Mike makes great guitars, man. He's actually the guy. He was like the final setup guy for Grosh guitars, I think. So he really knows how to make a guitar, feel and look like it's supposed to before it leaves the door. Leaves the factory. So Mike Tuttle makes his own guitars.
It's very important, by the way.
It is.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. The setup is so important, and there's so many great custom guitar builders out there now. It's it's a good time to be in the world and in this world looking for instruments, because it seems like there's a lot of custom builders with amps and axes
and pedals
pedals.
Pedals. It's ridiculous.
It's like I build these in my bathroom.
Right.
I know, it's crazy, man. It's crazy. Everybody's building pedals now. And they all sound good.
Yeah.
Well, most of them do.
Yeah, most of them do.
I assemble these in the shower. That's why they have this watery kind of sound to them. Oh, man. But so what is the guitar builder again?
Delaney Guitars.
Delaney Guitars, yes.
Okay.
Have,
he's out of Austin. Actually, Mike is with him, too.
Zito, right?
Yeah, Zito's got all his guitars through.
Well, Zito's a Cat 5 guy, too, right?
Yeah, right? It's like a big happy family.
Oh, and
they get the multi-user discount.
And who do we just read? Zito's replacement, Bart Walker.
Yes.
Yeah.
Cat 5 guy. Man, that guy's a player, too. Holy.
Dude, he's a shredder.
Yeah. Does it with big rings on his hands too.
Man, I can't even play with one ring or barely even a bracelet. You know, I can't even put a watch on my hand. I can't figure that out. And I see Bonnie Raitt do it.
Yeah, his rings are like an inch and a half long, and he's like just tearing it up.
But they're on the back side. It's not like they're on the neck side.
No. I've tried, man. Those rings, they'll flip around on you. He's true. He's juggling all kinds of chainsaws up there. That's just talent.
Yeah, he is. And then he puts a slide on top of that. You know?
Yeah, of course.
Right.
Yeah, he's crazy.
And then sings opera when it's downtime.
In German.
In German.
Yeah, he's like you said, he's done a lot of living.
Yeah.
Samantha, you've got to listen to the podcast that we did with Devin and Bart. We just they were in town a couple weeks ago, and Bart was just coming in, and Devin was just leaving. You know, the Royal Southern, and we had a great interview with both of those guys. You got to hear it because they're buds of yours. So
I love those guys, man. I've had Devin and I did some work together a couple years ago when he had me guest on his record and stuff. And I went on tour with the Royal Southern Brotherhood, and I've known Bart for years. I can imagine that was a lot of fun.
Oh yeah,
we were laughing most of the time.
Did you play with their rhythm section? I thought I saw something where you recorded with.
Yeah.
Was it Jan Rico and
Jan Rico and Charlie?
And Charlie Wooten, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, they both played on my last record that was released back in September 2013. It was Black Wind Halen. They played on it. Mike produced it. We went down to Dockside Studios in Louisiana. Yeah, they killed it, man. Man, great rhythm section. Great guys too.
Recording in Louisiana, that's got to be a vibe in the studio there.
It's like going home, man. I woke up the first day at Dockside, which is just. It's beautiful. You're staying on this property that's like right up next to the bayou. There's a river with steamboats run right next to the house. I mean, I woke up and I was like, all right, we going fishing today? No, we're gonna go make a record. It was just as great. It's just a relaxing vibe.
That's very cool. That's very cool.
That is cool, man.
Well, so 2013, we're in 2015 now. Any plans for anything new to drop soon? Working on anything?
Yeah. Like I said, I just recorded with Luther Dickinson.
Mm-hmm.
And my new record, Wild Heart, is going to come out this summer, and I'm really excited. I don't think they've done the official press release date thing yet, so I don't know if I can say exactly when, but I got they can check it out on my website, and we'll have all the information on our social media. But yeah, I'm really excited about that. I mean, it's every new thing is my favorite thing to date. Anytime you do something new, it's like I'm just excited to play the songs. It's the latest evolution of the music we've been playing, and I'm just really excited for people to hear it. Nobody's heard these songs. I've really kept it under wraps.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because last time with Black Wind Halen, I was so excited. I brought the songs to the band. I'm like, let's learn all these now. And we started kind of fleshing them out at our live shows. And then our CD, our release date got pushed back from like April to September. So by the time we got to the release date, I'd been playing the songs for like 8 months. And I was personally, I was like sick of them. But,
yeah,
and I wanted to keep it more of a surprise just for the fans. That way, it creates some buzz and stuff. And they're really, they're different. And it's a pretty raw rock and roll record to me. I'm just excited for people to hear it. So I'm keeping it a secret.
Cool. And I'm sure, I was going to say you're going to tour behind it. You're constantly playing anyway, but I'm sure you're going to tour behind it when it comes out.
It's like, the records come in cycles, and that's like our touring cycle. It's, now I feel like I'm getting ready to start the cycle again. And, we'll be working all summer, all through the fall, probably all through the winter time, and then all the way back to now next year. So we're constantly moving. This is probably the most downtime we've had in a while. I'm in Kansas City for the next week or so. Mm-hmm. But it's kind of nice to get to stop.
Cool. Dates on your website, or is there anything? I'm sure you play local as well. Anything touring wise on the website, and people can start getting out there and seeing you.
Yeah. SamanthaFish.com's got our tour dates on it, and we're constantly updating that. Stuff comes in all the time. But then, we're on Facebook, Twitter, and we try to, keep up with everybody on there too.
Cool.
That'll be up with the show. I'll have it on our webpage.
Oh, absolutely.
Cool.
Yeah, it'll be there indefinitely.
Yes.
With the show. The one thing that I will tell you, because I haven't seen her live, I've only seen her on YouTube.
Okay.
But you can tell that this is a job that she absolutely enjoys. and the guys in the band do too, because there's a lot of, you can tell there's a lot of joking going on while they're playing. They're laughing, they're having a good time, and that's something you don't see too often these days.
But that's as it should be.
It is.
Yeah, it's supposed to be fun. It's supposed to be fun, man.
Yeah.
You know?
We try to keep it as professional as possible, but sometimes you just can't help it.
You gotta have a good time.
That's right. That's right.
And I noticed that shoes are optional sometimes with you.
Oh yeah.
I'm getting smarter about my footwear. I really am. I used to, back in my early 20s, I was so hard-headed. Now in my mid-20s, I'm just really leveling out as a human being, and I'm kidding, but no, I used to wear the dangerous, stiletto spike pumps.
Yeah, those things were crazy looking, man.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and they were cute as hell, but not the most practical of shoes. Now at least I get shoes that I have to zip myself into them. They've got some kind of buckle or strap that I can't easily just get off. The stilts, so I'm working on it. The shoes are a work in progress.
Because with her, rings and shoes are optional,
Yes.
in playing.
Oh my God.
That's cool. Well, I know you probably got to run, and we do too, and I just want to thank you very much for taking the time and turning our fans onto a little Samantha Fish, and I'm sure they're going to love it, because the more we do this, the more we keep getting comments. You guys are costing me money, because every time I hear a guest on your show, now I got to go out and buy everything they've done. So,
I appreciate you guys bringing me on. I had a lot of fun, so thank you.
Well, good. It's all about having fun, here or playing,
That's my favorite day of the week.
There's enough work in writing and taking the writing seriously and honing your art and recording it and getting it the way you want. When it finally hits the stage, go have some damn fun with it, man.
Sure. Absolutely.
Go have some
I feel
fun
like
with it.
we try to keep it professional, like I said, but my professionalism is it's in the van, it's in the office, and then when we get on stage, that's what we do it for. And if I'm not having fun, I don't know if I can make anyone else have fun. So
exactly.
Now, and to put something comparable to that, I don't know how much fun he has because he's had some issues, but Chris Duarte, back in the day when that guy had the 3-piece and they were doing the real heavy Stevie Ray Vaughan type blues, never had a set list. And he would just be he'd just call it out. He would just say, "Hey, I'm playing this," and they would all but he would try to, trip them up too. He was having a good time with it. But it was neat to see that, and that's kind of like what you guys do. So that's cool.
Well, she probably has a set list because she actually structures the sets and brings them up and down.
I try to, but sometimes I'll forget, and we're like, okay, so we're just winging it tonight, and because I like doing, what I love is when bands, they kind of transition, and I try to keep my mumbling down, to a minimum, because I'll get up there and just ramble on a microphone, and nobody likes that. So I'm trying to structure it so I ramble as little as possible. But it is always fun when you can go off the cuff and just, say to hell with it. We're throwing everything against the wall tonight.
Totally.
It's like that picking hand, man. You just do it.
You just do it.
Yeah.
That's right.
Oh, yeah.
That's right. Well, we're going to let you go so you can go have fun doing something else, hopefully. And thank you once again for taking the time. And if you hit the Northeast sometime during your touring season, the outdoor festivals and stuff, hopefully we'll get a chance to come out and see you.
And we could do this live.
Oh, we could do this live. Yeah, we could.
Heck yes. We do. We do the Northeast quite a bit. We love it out there on the East Coast. So I'd love to meet you guys and come on out.
Yeah, we're very appreciative of music up here. So I
can tell you guys have a great show. So.
Well,
thanks, man.
A show named Amps and Axes. You must love music.
No, for sure.
Guitar players.
Sure. Well, we both been doing it for quite a while, and I've been involved in a bunch of different levels of it. So. It's a whole nother thing. But
Jeff has a roster of people that he knows.
Oh my God, I'm sure.
Well, Samantha, thank you very much again. Have a great evening and a great rest of the week, and a great tour once you get back out there and tour the new record. And congratulations and good luck with the new record as well.
Thank you, guys. Thank you. See you soon.
All right. Hope so. Take care. And there you have the story.
Yeah, man.
No basement garage bands. You just go to jams and you play for a while. You meet some guys in the jams. You go, hey, let's put a band together. And you just right out of the gate into the clubs.
Wasn't Bart Walker the exact same story like that? Remember, he played when he was 4 years old, and then he kept going, but then there was never a garage band.
Yeah.
Just started playing.
I feel like I've done it the wrong way all these years now.
That's
because I wasn't good enough to do it their way.
Yeah, well, she's a very young woman.
Yeah,
and
mid-20s now, she's killing it.
And I'm listening to this resume as she's unfolding it, and I'm going, I don't feel like I've done anything in 47 years.
Really?
You think, I think like I work hard at what I do, like I really do think that. And then I hear that and I go, oh my God, I haven't done anything.
Listen, we figured this out. I've done about 13 and a half years worth of stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
And we're a little older.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. It's amazing sometimes the drive that gets behind it.
Mm-hmm.
And
I mean, it's,
the little triggers.
She's just looking at the influencers, go, I want to shred like these guys. I love this. I want to play like this, and
that's the way it should be.
And she does.
Yeah, and once again, another one of these players that eliminate the pedals.
Mm-hmm.
I like that amp. That amp sounds awesome when I'm plugged straight into it.
Yeah.
When you're feeling that comfortable in your skin,
that's when you know. That's when you know the hands have gotten an education over the years, and they're working really well.
Yes.
It's you can command the instrument a lot better.
Yep.
As time goes on.
I remember.
It's amazing.
I remember, and maybe one day he'll come on the show. But Phil X, who's a session guy, but does he's one of those utility guys.
Sure, yeah.
And he was telling a story that he got to the show, and he only uses a couple pedals. I think like an overdrive, and I don't even know if he does much more than that. And he said he got there and the battery was dead, and like the batteries were dead.
Mm-hmm.
So he just said, he put his hands up and he's just looking at me. He goes, okay, guys, it's time to do the work. And he said it was this one show, and he had an amp that did not have a lot of gain. And, he's a rock and roll guy.
Yeah.
So he was just like, okay, fellas, it's time to do the work, And he said after that gig, he really realized he was able to do it.
Yeah.
It kind of like if you don't have that and you have to perform, you'll know where you are at that point.
Oh, for sure. Absolutely.
It's that sink or swim. And that's a very scary thing.
And that's the more and more you're able to plug into amps with less and less gain and still feel good about what's coming out of the speakers, that's when you're getting better. At least in my opinion.
Yeah, I think you're right, because sometimes
there are certain genres of music that need a substantial amount of gain.
Yes,
and you're not going to pull that off out of a relatively clean amp. But someone like a blues player, it really does get down to basics after a while for most of them.
Sure.
Maybe there's a little push pedal. Maybe there's a little delay or a little reverb or something. But there ain't a whole lot of anything else, between the guitar and what's coming out of the speakers.
No, and what I'm about to say may anger some people, but I'm not trying to insult the guy, because it's Steve Vai.
Okay.
Right? But Steve Vai, you look at his rig, there's gobs o' gain.
Oh, yeah.
And he uses a Fernandez sustainer pickup. Which means you turn it on, and until the battery goes dead, you've got a note.
You got a note, right?
And it's ringing very loud. And but Steve has a very unique style, which requires that stuff. But I would really like to hear Steve
raw. Yeah.
And see, I mean, it's Steve Vai. He's going to pull something off. But to hear that, or maybe like, if he did an album like that, that would be really cool. Scott Henderson from Tribal Tech, who's an amazing guitar player, he did a blues album called Dog Party. I recommend that album. You want to hear some crazy chops? That is an amazing album by a jazz guy, a fusion jazz guy, doing nothing but blues licks.
Wow.
And doing them very well.
Wow.
Yeah.
Those two genres are very different worlds, and the players are very different players.
He just he just said, hey, I'm going to do a blues album. And he went and he got the players and he laid it down. And I tell you what, Dog Party is a great album.
Cool.
Spend some money.
I have to check that out.
Yeah, I've got it. I'll burn it for you.
Cool.
I can't burn it for everybody.
Right.
Sorry, guys.
But yeah, I'd love to hear it. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Very
so,
cool.
brother, until next time.
Damn right there's a next time.
Oh, we're going to have so many next times.
Oh, yeah.
I am Mick Marcelino, and you...
Jeff Bober.
And as always, we are saying...
Onward.
Be sure and follow the show on Twitter @AmpsandAxes. Also, make sure you like the show on Facebook. For news, comments, and everything else, visit the webpage ampsandaxescast.com. Thanks for listening.